The Money Show with me, Kavita Thapliyal. Healthcare, one of the most basic requirements of one's life. Health insurance, one of the most crucial insurance that one needs to have for themselves and their family members. We have IRDAI, a regulator that makes sure that there is transparency, fairness and standardization ensured as far as fair practices are concerned of insurance companies. But why even then in a country like India, where in the first place awareness for health insurance is low, policyholders have to face rejection of claims due to invalid reasons, frauds, mis-selling, and to top it all, a failed grievance redressal system that uncovers the harsh reality of incompetence by general insurance companies. So let's discuss all of this. With me, I have very special guest. I have Bejon Mishra, founder, Patient Safety and Access. Plus, I have Mahavir, Chopra, founder, Beshak.org with me. Thank you so much and good evening. Thank you for this for joining on me on the Money Show. I'll come to you first, Bejon sir, because I really want to understand how and why are health insurance companies failing as far as grievance redressal format is concerned, which is very clearly defined and explained by IRDAI.
Yeah, Kavita, you have touched a very sensitive subject today, and I want to thank you for that. You see, whenever we take any health insurance cover, we expect that when we get hospitalized or whatever we have been promised in the policy, we get that without any kind of a barrier or difficulty. In a seamless manner, we get the services. But what is happening is that most of the time there is no kind of monitoring or evaluation of this process being done in terms of the regulator, reprimanding the insurance companies who are not following the certain norms. And as you know, mis-selling is one of the largest complaint now in numbers we are receiving today as consumer groups. We receive huge complaints in terms of mis-selling, and even the complaints which reach the insurance companies, there also they find that their intermediaries are not explaining the policy in a simple, easy language. So now the regulator is coming up with a proposal.
So Bejon sir, when you say that these insurance companies are not following the pattern or the format suggested by the regulator, when you're saying that you are receiving a lot of mis-selling complaints, could you elaborate on that as to what kind of complaints and what kind of format are we talking about?
You see, what we are talking about is that when a policy is sold, most of the time the policyholder signs the dotted line without reading the fine print. So the regulator is now insisting that you please give a simple language one-pager to the policyholder so that they know from before what they should expect and what they should not expect. That is number one. Number two, you see, what we want is that when we go for hospitalization or for OPD, it should be seamless. We exactly should know that if I have spent 100 rupees, then I would be covered for 80 rupees, not 100 rupees, and I'd have to pay still 20 rupees out of pocket, even after having the insurance. Now, that kind of a mechanism is not yet in place because most of the hospitals are not empaneled with the insurance companies. And even if the hospitals are empaneled, they try avoiding giving a kind of a cashless service to the patients. Now, this is becoming a big kind of a pain for patients, because at the end of the day, you don't know what is that amount you have spent and how much you will be covered by the insurance companies till the TPA or the insurance company decides what is that amount going to be paid, and then the dispute starts. So in order to avoid such disputes, it is always better that the policyholder should know much before in terms of what are their liability in terms of payment, apart from the insurance cover which they have got. Now, this is what we are trying to develop now in terms of mechanism by working with the regulator, explaining them that the helpline numbers needs to be more proactive. It should be 24/7. There should be somebody who should be talking to them, not that, you just have an IVR. All these kind of facilities needs to be ramped up in India because the policyholders are not finding it very comfortable. We have 17, ombudsmen working in the country for insurance to bring resolutions to insurance complaints. Most of the consumers are not aware, even if it is written in the policy
Problem, Bejon,
in
sir,
terms of the
people are,
ombudsman.
policyholders are not aware. There is no enough awareness, and also the entire mechanism and the process is so layered and it is so complex, Mahavir, because one third of the complaints which the consumer department is receiving, it is actually coming from the insurance sector. Not only that, from out of almost 5.78 lakh pending cases, around 1.61 lakh is only of insurance, okay, and your health insurance takes a major stake. So why are things so complex? We know the regulator is working towards making things simpler. We have communities and organizations of Bejon sir also who are working towards all of this, but still a lot more needs to be done. And also the stakeholders, where I clearly mean the general insurance companies, they also need to come ahead and take some responsibility towards this and just try and stop all this mis-selling and the frauds which are happening.
Right, Kavita. So it's a kind of a vicious circle that needs to be broken, Kavita. The problem lies with, unfortunately, with all the stakeholders. When you look at it from an insurance company point of view, the simplification of the wordings did not need a regulator to come and tell you. You could have done it on your own and could have made it very simple. There was a simplified document even earlier that IRDAI had asked for, almost like around 8 to 10 years ago, but that gradually it has got diluted in terms of becoming again a complex document, right? The other stakeholder obviously is the intermediary. The intermediary also is in a hurry to sell and does not actually give all the details to the customer and wants to actually just book commission. A lot of them want to do that. And that also has led to a lot of trouble at the time of claim. And the most important thing people who are viewing this need to know is that one of the people to blame, and I'm saying this with a lot of, I'm being humble when I say this, is a lot of the responsibility is also of the consumer, that the consumer actually takes a lot of diligence when they are buying the policy and not be lazy about, just taking a cover. A lot of good advisors that speak to us, and we have a community of advisors who work with us, who are very diligent, who want to do good work, find it very difficult to even spend half an hour with a customer to explain them what are the basic terms and conditions of the policy, because at that time, a customer is also in a hurry to just get a policy. So in all, the problem has to be solved by everyone. As a consumer, you need to become more aware. Obviously, the industry has to make it and align it to the customer behavior and make it very, very easy, consumable for the customer to be able to understand this stuff. So it's a hand-in-hand thing that needs to be solved. Till it does not get solved, until the problem is not reached a level, the solution has not reached a level where, you could say, okay, fine, we've reached a good solution. Till then, there is no choice, but customers will have to be more aware, will have to read through documents or have a good advisor who can explain them through documents, and they will have to patiently understand this document. Unfortunately, health insurance will remain complex in India, and there are multiple reasons why it is complex, and there is a large ecosystem of hospital providers and a lot of other agents which ensure that policies cannot be simple because of multiple reasons. And one of them is basically that fraud is very prevalent in the country, and hence insurance companies are also required to put a lot of effort to ensure that they keep themselves on the safe side. So it's a round answer to this.
Right.
Basically, important from all aspects,
Right.
is that while a government will have to basically definitely step in to solve for this in the long run, and I think insurance IRDAI is doing a couple of stuff like what Bejon sir said, and also stuff around making cashless available in all hospitals is also happening. I think someone just said that.
So that's going to be one step at a time, okay. But then, Bejon sir, let's just talk about a very simple thing, and which is also the right of a policyholder, the Grievance Redressal system. Okay, it is mentioned in the policy document, but despite that, I'm just talking about one specific issue, okay. Maximum people are facing problem over here because the details for the Grievance Redressal is either not right, okay, or the contact person mentioned over there doesn't exist, or there's a landline number which no one ever picks up. Just one specific issue. What is the problem in giving right information and just being active in understanding and acknowledging the problem?
You see, Kavita, let me tell you, let me give you an example of what happens overseas. When I visited the insurance ombudsman in UK, any complaint which goes to the ombudsman, the insurance company is liable to pay a fee, and it's quite a fat fee to the ombudsman for processing that complaint. Which means what? Which means that if a consumer has a complaint, that means due diligence was not done while the policy was sold. And if you're not able to give a prompt resolution and that consumer goes to the ombudsman, that means the insurance company has failed to give a proper resolution promptly to the policyholder. Now, these are the processes which has to come into India. And when we are looking for foreign investors to come in, we have to develop an ecosystem. I heard my panel member stating certain contradicting kind of a messaging. He is saying that the consumer has to be responsible. What do you mean by that? The consumer has to be responsible to what extent? That he pays the money and he is made to know that there is a cooling off period, that if he wants to come out of it, he's given enough time to come out of it. In our country, it doesn't happen. You see, if I want to come out of it, they don't allow me to come out of it. And then they unnecessarily creating disputes. So the poor consumer, that person is not that literate to understand what my co-panelist just now explained. It is the insurance company's responsibility to explain in a simple language, take a consent from that person. They don't take a consent. There is a proper process. There is an SOP for taking consent, that yes, in my full consent, I have bought this policy. They never do that. They never practice that. And then they say that they have signed the dotted line, so they are liable. What do you mean by that? You mean that you make somebody sign without explaining properly or misselling the consumer, and then you want that person to be liable? What rubbish is this? So what my contention is very simple, Kavita. We have to make the process pro-policyholder. I am not saying that the insurance company should encourage fraud, should encourage miscommunication, should encourage misinformation by the policyholder. If it is found and there is an evidence that the policyholder is giving wrong information, then that policyholder has to be made liable. But if he is innocently made a victim, then he cannot be made liable at any cost. And that is why I am saying you have to bring in transparency, you have to bring in accountability, you have to ensure that the grievance redressal system is prompt, efficient. It's not that I need help today, I'm gone to the hospital, and then when I call the call center, they say, we'll come back to you in 48 hours. What a joke it is.
Exactly.
I need help now.
Yeah.
And you're telling me you will come back after 48 hours?
Exactly. Yeah, which is what happens. Exactly, you're right. And so in this scenario, Mahavir, when can a policyholder reach out to an ombudsman?
Basically, the process is, Kavita, very simple, that you are supposed to wait for 30 days. And if you don't get a satisfactory response from the insurance company's grievance redressal mechanism, then you can basically go and apply to ombudsman. This is restricted to basically claims worth 30 lakh of rupees. If the claim is above 30 lakhs of rupees, then you will have to basically go to the consumer court. When I gave the answer about how this problem exists, and I mentioned about the ecosystem, I don't want to take a hard view like what Mr. Bejon is taking. I think the view needs to be a little more wholesome and ecosystem friendly. I don't belong to the insurance industry. I am a player who is basically outside the industry. And I feel that every space and every stakeholder needs to be looked at and heard, and then the problem needs to be solved. Otherwise, one-sided problems are never solved.
I mean, I have a lot of questions for this particular discussion, but then one last question to you, Bejon sir. How can a policyholder reach out if in case of grievance redressal, and if it has not been addressed by the insurance company as well? What should be the way ahead? Where should he go and reach out?
See, Kavita, I'm very clear. It's not that I am not bringing all the stakeholders on the same platform. I've been wrongly quoted. Please amend. I'm not saying that. I am fully sensitive about all the stakeholders. I take all the stakeholders into equal proportion and I look at them in equal manner. It's not that I'm only pro-consumer. No, I am pro-industry also. I'm pro-regulator also. I'm pro-intermediary also. But if anybody is doing something wrong, then that has to be flagged. We cannot put the dirt under the carpet. Simple. Now, what I want to tell you is in simple language that the consumer must get prompt redressal. Prompt means within 24 hours, I must get some response. It is not that you keep me waiting indefinitely and here my, my family member is suffering and I have to pay out of my pocket even after paying a hefty amount in terms of getting an insurance policy. Now that is not tolerable. So we have to find a process, and that process is being looked for. Laws are being amended. We are going to very soon ensure that every policy holder should be able to call in a particular number, a particular call center, which is working 24/7 on behalf of not only all the insurance companies, on behalf of the intermediaries, on behalf of whoever is working in the insurance sector, to ensure that the data is created, evidences are created, prompt actions are taken wherever there is kind of an injustice given to the policyholder. And I'm very clear in my mind, very soon you will see in the next 1 year, there'll be drastic change in the health insurance sector in the country, and many people will not only opt for the insurance cover, but many people will come back with smiling faces saying that, yes, this is what we wanted to happen and this is what is going to happen. And we are going to do that by flagging the issues which are genuine, which are hard-hitting, and with solutions. We are going to do that. And we're going to do that irrespective of whether it's a patient, whether it's an insurance company, whether it's an intermediary, whether it is the regulator.
Right.
We're going to talk about everybody.
Right. And as for the regulator concerned, we are also seeing the regulator taking several steps in the same direction, but then a lot more needs to be done. Well, thank you so much for being on this show and helping our viewers understand this entire concept of grievance redressal and the right way to approach it. Thank you so much. From the Money Show, we move on.